Hello, I'm Elizabeth Scheck. I did my research assignment on diverse literature. The biggest facet of this that really got my attention were mirrors and windows. Many of the authors and writers I researched alluded to this metaphor. Mirrors are definitely needed for children of all ages and people in general to see themselves in a story or a book, to in to relate and look at the situations in a different light, but see them in those stories themselves. Um, no matter what race, religion, or culture they are, um, these stories are meant to be seen by all children. Um, the window is so that others can read these stories and learn about their friend and neighbor that may not be or look just like them. This is where true empathy can be produced. Empathy is a valuable asset that everyone needs to possess in order for the society to really get any better. And what better a place to start with than the children that are going to be our future society. The stats that really caught my attention from the Cooperative Children's Book Center stated that, I believe it was 2016, um, there were 3,400 books produced, about that many, and 271 of those books were of about an African American in their society. That's just not enough. Grace Lynn is an author that I researched. I watched her TED Talk several times. Um, she too noted mirrors and windows due to her life. She immigrated to the U.S. with her parents at a very young age, and she wanted nothing to do with Chinese or her heritage. She wanted to be American. She wanted to be and fit in with other kids. It wasn't until later in her life that she was speaking with an acquaintance in Rome that she realized she couldn't even speak her native tongue, that she knew many exciting historical facts, but she couldn't speak her native language, and she didn't even know a lot about her heritage. She went on to become an author at that point, and her stories revealed situations that she wished she could have read about when she was a child, about Chinese people living in different situations. Um, One of her books that is most known is Where the Mountain Meets the Moon, and it's a story that the main character is much like Dorothy in the Wizard of Oz, and this stems from her childhood where she was trying out for Dorothy and asked another child in the class if do you think I could be Dorothy? And the child replied to her, no, you can't be Dorothy. You're Chinese. So this was a situation in which that other girl maybe didn't mean to hurt her feelings, but they were definitely hurt. She wanted that was just as important to her as any other child. Um, Art Valdespino is a scholar from El Paso, Texas. He lived in El Paso, Texas, where there's 80% Latino um, community, and this is this was an exciting piece because I learned that Mr. Valdespino was reading to his son in Spanish at the age of 2, and he had realized that he wasn't able to read. He had never seen anything to read in Spanish until he was in college. In his high school, he didn't the books and pieces that he was shared with by way of teacher or librarian, they didn't even have Latino people in them, let alone have a last name or a first name. Uh, he wasn't he didn't badmouth the titles that he had to read. He enjoyed them. However, um, he had no mirrors and windows for his in his education. Um, Neil Schusterman, another author, says teachers and librarians are the gatekeepers to literature. And I truly believe that. We are those people that make it possible for kids to have books and other types of materials in order to see themselves and truly learn about others and form that empathy. Lula Delacruz is another author. She wrote 36 children's books. She's a huge advocate of we need diverse books, which is an excellent campaign that many authors have come together in order to promote and write more diverse fiction for all children. If you have time, I emphasize that you go to the website and watch the video. It's very informative. It sheds light on yet another advocate for mirrors and windows in stories. Delacruz notes that there were 79 at the time before We Need Diverse Books came about. There were 79% of the publishers were white, 78% were women, and 92% were non-disabled, and 88% were heterosexual. Delacruz's daughter is lesbian, so books were scarce, and she said, and I quote, she said, "We need to see everyone in books, people who are like us, and that open our eyes to others, which in the other, not the other, but a friend. We all are human, and we are not just Native American, Latino, or African American. We all share the same dreams and are all connected in some way." I thought that was well stated. Nancy Larrick, another author, states that 6,340,000 non-white children are learning to read in the U.S. Through the American way of life. And these books either omit them entirely or they scarcely mention them. Them meaning, again, their race, their background, their ethnic, their religion, whichever that might be. Walter Dean Myers, another author, was speaking to an 8-year-old, and this is a very eye-catching conversation. He was talking to the girl about one of his books, and he said, "Do you like the blues?" She said no. He said, "Do you like dogs?" And she said no. He said, what do you like?" She said, "It looks like me." He says if they don't have books to read, they can turn to video games. They essentially get more self-esteem from that, or like having a pair of Jordans. This is something that makes them feel important. So when they don't see themselves in books, it becomes difficult. There's several more testimonials in my paper. To conclude, I want to share that according to the Census Bureau of 2050, we will be more racially and ethnically diverse than ever in our time, making the U.S. a majority minority nation. As teachers and future librarians, I've heard some of you mention that you're teachers or have taught, We must open those gates as gatekeepers. We must open them and advocate as best as possible to provide stories for of all of the children. Um, just think how we can help instill empathy in these kids and make their lives, or try to make them easier for them. My job this school year is as an elementary librarian. I'm stoked to get started. Excuse me, I'm beyond excited to ensure that my library will accomplish and accommodate having books for all kids. Uh, Writing this paper truly inspired me, and doing the research truly inspired me to um, be the best I can be, and take that to whatever limit it is necessary. So um, please keep these things in mind. Thank you and have a good day.